If you think covered wagons and buggies are vehicles of the past, then welcome to Happy Valley and the home of Tom Winkler, a man who will prove you wrong. You may not know that Mr. Winkler rode to church last Sunday in his mule-drawn hack, which he made himself about 10 years ago. Tom Winkler is a man to whom horsepower still means 4 hooves on the ground instead of 4 on the floor. His talent suggests that he was born a century too late, though there is abundant evidence around his farmhouse that the demand is still there. Winkler makes or repairs 4-wheel carriages like this 75-year-old Surrey. The Morganton owner wants the wheel size cut down and a new top. Winkler just put a new top on his own Surrey here. He also owns another Surrey, the hack in the front yard, a buggy, and 2 covered wagons. The 2-horse carriage with the straw-covered seats and the fringe on top belongs to WBTV's Fred Kirby. Winkler recalls that it was just a pile of iron scraps when Fred brought it to him and said, "Make me a buggy." And over here is the chassis for a 2-horse wagon ordered by a Wilkes County man. He plans to take it on the Daniel Boone wagon train, an affair we'll describe later. Out behind the barn are Winkler's 2 covered wagons. The first is his own creation. Built 8 years ago, he and wife Iola have taken it on many a wagon train and slept in it as well. The braking system, by the way, is his own design. And this is an original roadbed wagon, built in Winston-Salem before 1900, complete with lantern and toolbox. Winkler designed and built his own machinery from knowledge acquired in his 40 years with Broyhill Furniture Company. He tapers the wooden spokes on this shaper head. The rounder trims down the edges of the spoke for inserting in the wheel. The drill press bores holes for bolts, which will secure the spokes into the wheel. Then, with a measuring device called a traveler, Winkler determines what tire length will be needed to cover the wheel. And that is only a small part of Tom Winkler's trade, once a hobby that has made his retirement anything but restful.
I did deal with pony wagons the most, but it's sort of left, and these big wagons that goes on these trains has come in.
Well, just what is a wagon train anyway?
Well, it's just a bunch of people to get together, and with about all they have is around 100 wagons, and all this travel from Wilkesboro to Boone and camp out and cook out and just have a big time.
You've been on a few in your day, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Sure have.
Is that something like the travel trailer craze that's going on right now?
Yeah, I guess it is. Only it might be a little bigger because there's so many people, sightseers there, you know.
Did you ever dream this business would grow this big?
No, sir, I didn't. I started off in it as a hobby, but it's got more than that now.
More than you can stand?
Yes, sir.
How does one learn to repair buggies and wagons?
Well, I worked under my dad for years, and he was a blacksmith and done a lot of that work, and I just stayed with him and watched him till I got on to it.
Who'll be doing this when you're gone, though?
Well, I don't know. I've got no competition. I don't know who's going to take over.
Well, folks, you know I wasn't going to do this story without getting a ride. So, this is C.J. Underwood with the Carolina Camera in Happy Valley, North Carolina. Come back. We're returning to our horseless carriage for a trip into Stanley County now, where another man with a fascinating hobby is waiting. Before electronics became a part of everyday life, man had to constantly improvise, and nobody did that better than Clarence Freeman. Well, a lot of people your age would be ready to just lay down and relax, but you're not ready.
I don't think that's the way for a person to do. The Bible says there's 6 days in a week we ought to work. It don't say we shall work, but we ought to work.
You mean the Bible didn't suggest retirement, huh?
No, I don't know if it does.
Clarence A. Freeman is 78 years old. His back is bent and his fingers are twisted by rheumatism. But this spring you will find him again inside this stone building which he built with his own hands in 1947. It is less than 100 yards from his stone farmhouse, which he also built in 1948. Mr. Freeman is looking forward to another summer when he'll crank up the water wheel and set the belts to rolling so he can build another table or chest. Winter has silenced the old wheel for several months now. Limbs and leaves from the stream have jammed inside. I had visions of total immersion in the drink as I helped Mr. Freeman loosen the debris, but we managed finally. You'll notice he was amazingly indifferent, as if an unscheduled swim would be quite all right. The wheel with metal parts from a 45-year-old tractor has been the hub of C.A. Freeman's life for more than 20 years. It has provided the power for every piece of machinery in his shop. If necessity was the mother of invention, Mr. Freeman is also necessity's child. Inside these walls is evidence of a pioneer. In 1950, there were no electric lines to his property, but there was Stony Run Creek, so Mr. Freeman and his sons dammed the creek with 135 bags of cement and installed the wheel. A self-styled craftsman, Mr. Freeman designed a network of wheels and belts, all powered by the water wheel. This churning shaper head makes the notches and grooves for pieces that fit together. The water wheel also activates sanders, a turning lathe, buzz planer, and his bandsaw. The housing for the saw is 50 years old. He has electrical outlets now which provide power when the creek is low. Only his old grist mill has been silenced by time, but it once produced cornmeal for nearby families. Freeman's ingenuity even produced a device called a cane fodder stripper. His efforts to get a patent on it have been futile, and he's still waiting for a buyer to market it. So there you have a man whose only limitation was his own mind, and it was more than enough.
These machines run just as well by water power as electricity, then?
Yeah, the work they've done, they do all right.
Some of it works by electricity. You do have some outlets now. Can you tell any difference one way or the other?
Well, I just soon have the water power. Yeah, these outlets that run them up when the water's low, I use water when it's water to use.
What's that you say about when you finished, about your bills you pay?
Well, that's when I quit, why, it's all paid for then. I don't have to go and pay the light card or something else or the power bill.
Yeah, that water keeps on coming regardless.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yes, Clarence Freeman's bills are paid, and so is his debt to a society that will not see his kind again.
Mr. Freeman probably represents the last link in that chain connecting today with yesterday. The past still clings to life in Mr. Freeman's workshop just as it does in a warehouse back in Charlotte. If music helps you reminisce, then this story is for you. Inside the walls of a warehouse on Charlotte's Atondo Avenue are relics of a musical era lost in time. This room could be a 1910 music shop. If you know what you're seeing, you're not as young as you thought. Everything here works, and the music is generally built in or automated. If the music here is soothing, prepare yourself for a sound and a sight impossible to describe. The man behind all this is G.W. McKinnon, whose one-time hobby for collecting automated musical instruments obviously has gotten out of hand. Now it's his life. They write and call from around the world to see what he's come up with next. That 16 by 26-foot hand-carved organ front you saw is headed for Madison, Wisconsin, and a musical museum. The music you heard was played by this dance organ, which reproduces the sounds of 20 musicians. It was McKinnon's first, and even though he has 1,500 hours in it, there is more restoration necessary. It was brought here from McKinnon's den at home, and this is what his neighbors heard. McKinnon has 6 people in Europe on the lookout for old instruments worth restoring. They will wind up in the hands of technicians Bob Helms or Ray Connolly, or McKinnon himself. They are among the few men in the world who know how to repair a pouch board or connect the pneumatics to the finger buttons of an accordion. There is no telling where McKinnon's trade may take him, but he speaks fondly of opening a museum or even a dance hall. Is there any hope that the concert organ can eventually produce a popular brand of music?
Well, it won't become too popular because of the scarcity of the type of instruments. In order for it to be real popular, I imagine it would have to be in all sections of the country. Wherever they are popular, though.
Can factories turn out this kind of thing?
No. I think I have a shop in Antwerp, Belgium that makes new organs now, and I think that's about the only one in the whole world that is making new old pipe organs.
How can these people in Europe discard things with such history about them?
Well, they, I guess, feel about them like we do about automobiles and so forth. They are looking for more modern sounds, electronic sounds. They like to get away from the pipe organ sounds and get into things like Hammond organ sounds. And so they just put them in their garage or in their stable or in their warehouse, and someday, we'll run across them.
Are you a fan of today's music? Contemporary or rock and roll, whatever it may be?
Yes, but I prefer the old music.
I suspected that.
Yeah.
His inventory includes the more conventional antique organs, but their beauty is even diminished by the spectacular white-faced pipe organs of Berlin and Hamburg. They were probably heard at European fairs decades ago, and eventually they will become a part of an American carnival in the electronic age, and straight from a Charlotte warehouse. And G.W. McKinnon will have saved another tiny part of the world's history from extinction.
C.J. Underwood with the Carolina Camera on Atondo Avenue in Charlotte. Now, if you don't mind, folks, I'm going to enjoy some more music.
Carolina Camera is featured Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays on WBTV's Early News, The Scene Tonight at 6 p.m.